she doing? Hello, everyone. I'm getting attacked from behind by Cassie. What's up? What's up? Lie down. Lie down. Good girl. All right, guys. Hello, everyone. I did say this morning that I would be back if there was any further developments. Made a little video this morning. If you saw it, if you didn't, then fair enough. I'm here. We've got a press conference starting in about 20 minutes time, which I'll put on the banner actually, or else people are just going to come in and say, what time's the presser? What time's the presser? So let's do 2 p.m. ET. Okay. All right. So in about 20 minutes, there's a press conference. It's Chester County DA's office that are streaming it on Facebook. So I've got that up in the background. Can you hear the ice cream man? The ice cream man's coming. Can you hear him? He's got a really loud tune. Really loud tune. Attack from behind live on her. Yeah, she does it regularly. She does it regularly, but I've only got a t-shirt on, like a thin t-shirt. So she scratched me down my back. Ice cream time. That's 11 a.m. Pacific. Yeah. Just say 18 minutes. 18 minutes from now. Like it's nearly 7 p.m. for me. Yeah, PA State Cop. Yeah. So while we're waiting for the presser, I know there's about 5 million people streaming this press conference, but not to worry. Thank you for choosing to watch it with me. I've quite got into this case now. I can't believe they haven't caught him yet. It's crazy. 12 days. And they know where he is as well. Like they've got him to a really narrow search area, and he's just continually evading them. It's unbelievable at this point. But anyway, who's in the house? Hello, Jackie. Hello, hello. Peggy Lee, Lotus Flower, Natalia, Denise, Mel. Okay. Who else have we got? He's back. No, he's going now. Zenibia. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Does anyone else think he may have helped? Yes, I do. I really do. Think someone must be helping him. Or at least has been helping him. Might not be continually helping him. But if he's literally been doing this on his own, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Hello, Mason from Shropshire. Laura. Evil Exists is in the house. Hello, Evil Exists. Sweet Peas. And a few more people coming in now. So let's see what's... Oh, good morning from Australia. So it'll be tomorrow for you. All right. Well, it's your today, but it's everyone else's tomorrow. Thank you, Phyllis. You're going to watch the presser with me. Thank you, thank you. Isabel, you're watching a thunderstorm rolling over the hill. Oh, we've not got any thunder here. Maybe it'll roll this way soon. Anyway, I've been looking on the site previously known as Twitter, so that's where I've got this picture from. They're authorised to use deadly force if a prisoner escapes, which is good news. Good news. So they are in this area. And then this is like a minute ago, but it's actually about 15 minutes ago now. Strong law enforcement presence just arrived in East Nantmeal Township. Heavily armed agents, tactical vehicles, canines, all part of the continuing search for escaped killer Danelo Cavalcante. They've got a heavily armed vehicle now. SWAT backing into the church. Well, there you go. I couldn't have said it better myself. A POS of a human who is a cold-blooded killer, a narcissist person who thinks he can get away with murder and feels so entitled to live his life like a free man. I'm wondering what the end to his story will look like. Either back to prison, or he'll engage in some kind of suicide by cop. That's my prediction, actually. Throw sled in there for good measure. Some information on his murder in Brazil. I thought he was 32, not 34, but anyway. Helicopters are back, circling Nantmeal village. So we'll have a look where Nantmeal village is. It's very close to where the van was ditched. That was ditched in Nantmeal village. And it's very close to, if you watch the live that I did late last night, my time, the road, they were setting up a perimeter as the sun was going down. It's very close to there, so he's not moved much overnight. So on the ground, SWAT, canines, law enforcement, same thing. I mean, I don't know whether that's a genuine picture. I guess it is. But if there's people out hunting him, then I've got to tell you that if this dude was in my neck of the woods, there would be no way in the world that law enforcement would be able to hold people back. There would be vigilante groups all over. And I would be among them, I'm telling you. Tilly would be out in force. Miss Tillington. Miss Tillington would take her best shot. Where did he work? That's a good point. Where did he work? So he visited former work associates, but where did he work? It's a good question. Where did he work? So Nantmeal village, let's just show you where that is. So this is the church where they're all parked outside of there. That's where the vehicles are. And then the road that they were on yesterday is, hold on, 216 Win Hollow Road. There we go. So just over a mile away. So he's this is where there was a sighting of him yesterday on Win Hollow Road. So they were setting up the perimeter around here and then this road. So they obviously still think he's in this area. So it's crazy. Crazy. Yeah, send in the Marines. Did Dog the Bounty Hunter join in? Not as far as I know. I know he has made statements, something about sending the bloodhounds. I would say send in every dog that's available. Just let them out. Just let the dogs out. Let them out. Open season. Just declare open season. The thing is, though, right, if one of these vigilante hunters catches him and shoots him, they'll get done for murder, won't they? So, not that I advocate violence ever, but if you do happen to go out with the aim of finding him, shoot him in the leg. He's not running then, is he? He's not running then, is he? Shoot him in the leg. Kneecap him. Not that I advocate violence, but in a case like this, where you've got a dangerous murderer on the loose, then surely you could call it self-defense. I don't understand why they haven't released the dogs. I mean, there's lots of canine units, but what I'm on about is just let the dog, like, let packs of hunting dogs out to find. Just go and find him. Let the dogs go and find him. Has duck hunting season started yet? You don't know this case, Linda? All right, so 12 days ago, give me the opportunity to show the escape video one more time. I am watching the clock, guys, so don't worry. Oh, you didn't even tell me that I wasn't even sharing the she calling the National Guard. Yeah. You didn't tell me that I wasn't even sharing the map. So this is the church where they were at. Maybe you did and I didn't see it. So this is the church where they're at. So it's just over a mile away where the last sighting was yesterday. Right there. But let me find the escape video. Here we go. Right. So this is what happened 12 days ago. So this is him. He's 5 foot nothing. Watch. Isn't that just the most insane escape that you've ever seen in your life? And apparently someone else did it a few months ago, but they got him back like quickly. But this dude, he's 5 foot nothing. He's shimmied up the wall, and they now just can't catch him. So this is about 20 miles away from where the guard was fired. Yeah, the guard was fired. But what they need, because that obviously just goes straight up to the wall, and then he's just jumped over the other side of the wall. They need like a little roof here, don't they? Like over this door, they need a little roof so they can't do it again. Michael will be proud. Yeah, guy on lookout. Unless he's just like randomly minding his own business. This dude just goes off on his own. It's crazy days. Crazy days. Crazy days. All right, this is the Chester County DA's office where the press is going to be at. So this was the presser from yesterday. So I'm assuming that they're just going to pop the presser on here when they go live. Freaking Spider Walker. Put some grease at the top, yeah. Yeah, they need to bring in the National Guard, circle and walk towards each other. I mean, he can't be... He's not gone more than a mile since yesterday. Close the border. He's not close to a border, fortunately. Like he's kind of vaguely headed north, but not very far. Not very far north. So guessing his plan was to head for Canada, but the Canadian border's pretty tight, I think. Spider-Man's got nothing on this guy. Don't underestimate him. No, I wouldn't underestimate him, given what he's been up to. I'm going to see if, like, WFLA is streaming it or something like that. Because streaming it directly from Facebook... No, they're not. Hold on. Fox 29, Philadelphia are streaming something. This is what Fox 29 are currently streaming. So some drone footage. So that's that Nantmeal Methodist Church that I pointed out. So the sighting from yesterday was about a mile, just over a mile from this church. So I'm guessing that they think is within a mile radius of this church. They're going to use this as the command center and maybe fan out. I'm guessing that's what they're going to do. Samantha, has anyone ever seen Danelo and Spider-Man in the same room? You know, he can shimmy up trees as well. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yeah, 3 minutes to presser. So I don't know what. I think these guys are just streaming drone footage. But this is where it's apparently going to be at. Like I said, this is from yesterday. So it's just going to pop up here when they go live, I think. Best bet is up a tree. But but let the dogs out. They'll find him up a tree. Definitely a wee man, but mighty lucky so far. I think there's some luck involved, yeah. I think there's definitely some luck involved. But, dear me, you ever seen anything like it in your life? Like, we had an escaped prisoner. We didn't, like London did. It's like 200 odd miles away from me. But they caught him quickly. A cop just pulled him off it. He'd robbed a push bike, and a cop spotted him and just dragged him off his push bike, just pulled him off and took him back to jail. She'll like to see the ring cam video. Yeah. I mean, those are just screenshots. But apparently he was talking to his buddy on this ring camera. But apparently the cops didn't take it seriously. Because I was thinking, why didn't his buddy report it, like, immediately? And then they'd have just caught him at his buddy's place. But apparently, when his buddy rang, the cops didn't believe him. They had to do face recognition software on his face because they didn't recognize him. So they ran face recognition software on the images and then realized, oh, look, it's him. He's just had a shave. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hope he's not in a house. I was thinking he may be hiding in a cabin or under someone's house. Under a house would be a good place because then the heat-seeking technology wouldn't be able to pick him up. So this conference is due to start any moment now. I'm on the right page. So I don't know what's going on here. I'll just keep refreshing it. But if anybody spots it anywhere else, Because I'm leery about streaming from Facebook because the quality's usually really rubbish. Do they have basements in those homes? I'm guessing that some do. I'm guessing so. But I was thinking, you know, if he's... Oh, there we go. There we go. Right. We're on. We're on. We're on. We're on.
For us in the past. We continue to receive tips and information from the public and are following up on those. Additionally,
let me know if you can hear
the public can expect to see a significant law enforcement presence in the area of East Nantmeal Township, where the van was recovered, as well as other areas of northern Chester County. There is no need for alarm when those resources are observed. If a possible threat develops, we will use the reverse 911 system to notify affected residents. I'd like to address a message to anyone who may have already offered assistance or is contemplating assisting Cavalcante in any way. We will prosecute you fully for those actions. Alternatively, I would suggest that you are in a position to help facilitate the safe capture of Cavalcante. If you choose to assist us, you could be eligible for some or all of the reward that has been offered for Cavalcante's capture. As a matter of fact, I'm announcing today that Chester County has increased the amount of reward they are offering by another $5,000. That brings the total reward offered up to $25,000 for information that leads to the capture of Cavalcante. We remain concerned that Cavalcante will attempt to steal another vehicle to facilitate his escape. As a reminder, we ask for the public's help by familiarizing themselves with the updated photographs and description of Cavalcante, to check security cameras they have, and to call us immediately if they believe they may have seen him. Again, we ask residents to please secure homes, outbuildings, and vehicles. It is imperative that anyone with information about Cavalcante contact us immediately so that we may act on that information in a timely manner. Anyone with information is asked to call our tip line at 717-562-2987. 717-562-2987. I know this is an extremely stressful time for the community. We are doing everything possible to bring this to a successful resolution as quickly as possible. I and all of us working on this every day appreciate all of the support that all of you have given. Thank you very much for that support. And at this time, we will be happy to take any questions you might have.
Do you have evidence that someone has tried to help him, or is that why you arrested the sister?
The sister is an overstay, and she chose not to assist, and because of being in an overstay status, she has been entered into a deportation proceeding and is being detained at this time.
She chose not to assist. You wanted her to help you, she did not.
She has not assisted.
Do you have any evidence of anybody else who's tried to help him? You just put a warning out there. You let people who you know who did try to help him.
I'm cautioning people preemptively, and yes, we are monitoring. We are monitoring for any possible help in a variety of ways. And so, what I would tell you is that if we detect assistance, that will be prosecuted. I'm not going to say anything further than that in terms of who may or may not have. What I'm going to say is, as a warning, you will be prosecuted. There is an alternative path to try and assist with his safe capture.
I want to touch base on the timeline here, make sure that we're correct. So he showed us these homes 10:30, you think, Saturday night, but yet people in the neighborhood say police weren't making checks until well after 2 o'clock in the morning. Was there any kind of delay here? The people at the church told us that people didn't start looking around the church until 3 a.m.
We weren't notified until well after midnight of the sightings.
So 2 hours after he shows up at this house and had a conversation with
At least 2 hours.
There is 911 with that call from that family on the Ring doorbell camera. Were there any issues? Can you walk us through? Can you actually just walk us through that entire sequence?
I'm not aware of any issues with the 911 system. And I'm not going to comment further. What I'm going to tell you, I've already laid out what the timeline was, and what I would tell you is that the individuals, so with, for example, the one was not home at the time. They were utilizing a doorbell to speak with him. They arrived home sometime later, reviewed the video, and contacted local police. Whatever occurred there, we were not a part of it. We received the notice, and I gave you the time yesterday. I don't have it in front of me, but it was sometime around 12:30, as I recall. So after midnight, when we received the notice, and our investigators then began working on that information. Those were the only two that we have reports that he communicated with anyone.
Lieutenant Colonel, at this point, have there been any other visual confirmed side of him since this doorbell photo was released?
There have not.
Do you have any reason to believe that he's just vanished without a trace? Do you still believe he's within Pennsylvania?
Well, of course he hasn't vanished without a trace, and for a variety of reasons, yes, I do believe that he is in Pennsylvania.
How many law enforcement personnel do you have working on this now, and have you brought in additional resources?
That total right now is still probably hovering around the 300 mark. And yes, we have brought in additional resources. So we're switching some out. I described yesterday that today, as a matter of fact, we had planned a major push. And so there were a lot more uniform resources. There were tactical teams, a very large number of tactical teams, and a lot of other assets that would have been utilized. We have instead replaced some of those resources, certainly not all, with other investigative resources, because as I told you, the investigation has shifted. And so not only the state police, but our federal partners as well have brought in additional resources that we believe will be useful going forward. We collectively conduct fugitive investigations every day of the year. And so this one is at a little different scale, but it's the type of investigation each of our agencies works on a very regular basis, and we're now adjusting with the resources we believe we need.
Why weren't there assets at these acquaintances' homes before he made this appearance? And are you doing that moving forward in this investigation?
Well, when you say acquaintances' homes, what I would tell you is that these people had not, to my knowledge, had any contact with Cavalcante for years. So they were not friends. They were prior work associates, for example, and they were not people that that we would have expected or that we would have known even to contact again from the distant past.
Sir, any thoughts on raising the rewards of $50,000 or $100,000 to help bring him to justice sooner rather than later?
Well, no. Again, right now we're announcing that the reward is at $25,000. I do believe that's a lot of money. I'm hard pressed to believe that someone is sitting out there with information saying $25,000 is not enough. I suppose we'll consider things as we go forward, whether that will increase or not. But for right now, that seems to be a pretty reasonable amount, I think.
So with the reward, with no defined area to search, are you 100% reliant on public tips in order to find it?
No.
There are a lot of reports or rumors, I should say, that Cavalcante's sister previously seen near the search perimeter in U-Haul or some other type of vehicle. Is there any credence to that led to her arrest?
No, I've heard those reports. Her arrest was, again, because she is an overstay. That was a process that would play out for anyone in her same circumstance. And what I would say is she has failed to cooperate, and so there was no value in law enforcement keeping her here at this point.
Previously, she has through the communications with the sister and acquaintances. What do you know about the resources he may have? Cell phone, money, food. What is he asking these people? And can you get kind of divulge what kind of intelligence you gathered in terms of what?
No, I don't want to talk specifically about what I think he may or may not have or what he's looking for. Those are all pieces of our investigation. But I think it's, again, fair to say what I've said all along, and that is he needs additional help. He needs resources for the long run, and he is seeking those.
Sir, have you expanded the search to Berks County at all?
We have We don't have a defined search area at this point. We are considering and certainly acting on and investigating any piece of information or tip that we receive. And so we follow those pieces of investigation, pieces of information with our investigation, as we have done right from the very start, regardless of where they are. There are areas that I described, for example, in East Nantmeal Township, for example, that may have a little more of our focus of some of our resources that are more visible. But again, because I have no reason to believe that he is not. I don't believe he has the resources to get out of Pennsylvania. And again, other pieces of information that we have generated within this investigation lead me to believe that he is still here.
Does he have other family members here that you've contacted?
I'm not going to talk about who we've contacted. He does still have some family and friends in the area, and we are aware of those.
Why arrest his sister now? She previously testified at his trial in cooperation with the prosecution. I assume her immigration status was known earlier in August. Why arrest her this week or last week?
From my perspective, and while I don't have anything to do with the removal process, there is no reason for me to try to interfere in that process because she serves no value to the investigation, and I'm not confident.
You said since the doorbell camera, there weren't any confirmed sightings. Could you expand on that a little bit? We continue to receive a significant number of tips, and so again, we will follow up on all of those. We have things that we are doing proactively, and so you may see some activity as a result of that. We have, and I said there are other things that may not be so obvious that you won't see that are going on as well.
What kind of challenges is law enforcement facing in the search efforts in terms of terrain? And obviously, it's a very rural area. You spoke about yesterday how he was able to manage his way outside of the perimeter. So, what kind of challenges are you facing at the day?
Very similar challenges in terms of the search efforts. Very similar challenges to what we have faced previously to this point. Unfortunately, we don't have a containment area right now, so that's another, another concern, another challenge. But again, we're working through all of that, trying to pull together pieces of information so that we can narrow and a search area, and ultimately use those tools to be able to capture him.
How did you split out the previous search warrant?
As I said yesterday, I don't have a definitive answer on that. I have my theories of how that happened. I have those theories because I'm aware of the weaknesses that were in there. I explained yesterday that no perimeter is 100% secure. It's not a wall. It doesn't have a ceiling. It doesn't have, all of the things that you might normally use if you're trying to contain someone. We use the human element. We use technology and so forth to be able to try and secure the perimeter as best we can. I am aware of some of the weaknesses. Longwood Gardens presented some very unique challenges, and I believe he exploited one of those weaknesses.
Do you believe any mistakes were made that allowed him to get out of that perimeter?
I don't know that I would characterize it as a mistake. As I said, again, without knowing specifically what happened, what I would tell you is that I had concerns. I knew that there were weaknesses in that perimeter. It was a very strong perimeter as far as perimeters go, but there are always weaknesses, and that place posed some very unique challenges. Perhaps when this is all over, I can talk about some of those, but it was a very difficult place to try and secure.
We've got a far bigger area and no perimeter, and you really haven't gotten them along here.
Well, sir, we conduct, as I indicated, we conduct fugitive investigations every day of the year across this Commonwealth, as do our partners that are standing here with me. Each one of them poses a challenge. We search like this. I am confident that using all of those resources, we will ultimately bring this one to a successful conclusion as well.
Sir, it is September 11th. Any thoughts of the men and women that are on the ground with you, federal, state, and county law enforcement and local law enforcement working together this day over the last 12 days searching for this convicted killer who's on the run?
Certainly today is a day of remembrance, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims of 9/11. But what I would tell you is that the men and women that are working here on this investigation are not pausing or taking a break. They are actively working and doing their jobs because that's what people expect them to do.
For Rob Clark, as far as how the marshals are now investigating, you mentioned before this was like a game of tactical game, cat and mouse. What changes now for your guys that are out there looking for?
That's a good question. So in the beginning, we were prepping here for the short game. We had a tactical response prepared in a certain area. And while that response was being prepared, we had a group of investigators from the U.S. Marshal Service here, some of the brightest minds in the agency, having a contingency plan of what we were going to do should he break perimeter or if he was outside that perimeter. So we had proactively planned for this. And I would say, you know, we have our pre-operational planning set, our tactical resources, our technical resources were all brought here. And now we're planning for the long game. The search in the woods was to Cavalcante's advantage. He was in an 8 square mile area that with very difficult terrain that was very difficult to get to. And there were some weaknesses in the perimeter. I think the incident command here was great, setting up the perimeter, bringing in the resources, and doing the absolute best we could. We had, I think, over 200 law enforcement officers in or around that perimeter. But now we're going to prepare for the long game. And the long game is what we do best. The U.S. Marshal Service, like the Colonel said, does fugitive investigations every day. This is a manhunt. And all that means to us is that it's a longer fugitive investigation with more resources. So we are prepared.
Cavalcante playing your game now?
I'm sorry?
Is Cavalcante playing your game now?
Cavalcante is now, I think the advantage is switched to law enforcement. Before it was advantage Cavalcante while he was playing that tactical hide and seek in the woods. Now I believe it's advantage law enforcement because he's in an urban setting. And that's what our investigators do best, the U.S. Marshal Service investigators. And we're force multiplied here by these other federal, state, and local agencies. So I believe the advantage has switched to law enforcement.
The fact you
So
call
what
this
do
the
you do?
long.
What is it that you do in this long game, in this urban setting? What changes? You go door to door? How do you work?
Well, there's a lot of different investigative techniques. I don't want to specify exactly what they are, but we're going to do the same thing we do every day in the city of Philadelphia. We're going to go out. We're going to talk to people. We're going to utilize the assets of the U.S. Marshal Service, certain investigative techniques that I don't want to reveal, but we're going to try to stay one step ahead.
The fact that you call this
in the perimeter, is that based on resources or was that geographical?
I'm sorry, the first part of your question.
You mentioned, you said that there were some weaknesses in the perimeter.
Right.
Was that based on resources or was that more
Well,
geographical?
maybe I misspoke, not weaknesses. There were a lot of challenges inside the perimeter. I believe the Lieutenant Colonel said yesterday, and he was very accurate because I've been in the inside of that perimeter. I was there with our investigators. There's a massive tunnel system. There's a lot of ravines. It's very, very thick vegetation there. It was a very, very difficult environment to maintain.
Sir, you could call this the long game. Some people might think that means you don't expect to catch him soon. Is that the case?
No, I mean, we expect to catch him as soon as possible, but we're not going to put all our ducks in a row and say, hey, we're going to have him by this Thursday. We're going to plan for a long investigation because we don't want to get caught planning for an immediate arrest and then we're not prepared later down the line.
Sir, given that he's very close to potentially French Creek Park, another vast area, are you also concentrating more solely on nature where he was successfully able to hide in the southern Chester County area versus, where 202 and other routes, there's cameras everywhere, and that would be a way easier to find him in lieu of a cell phone or a debit card. Do you think he's in the woods right now still? Is that his advantage?
Like the Colonel said, we're investigating that area in East Nantmeal until something suggests he's not in that area. We're going to continue to investigate there. I'd reiterate the message from the Colonel to the public. Please be vigilant in the areas that we're searching. Make sure your doors are locked. Make sure your car keys are secured in your residence. Report anything suspicious to law enforcement. And if you have tips, call them in because we'd like to investigate 100 bad tips rather than miss that one good tip that's not called in. Not that we're aware of.
You talk about a protracted search. Another one that comes to mind would be Free nearly 10 years ago, went on for 20 some days. What are some of the similarities and differences between these two searches?
That's a question probably better for the Colonel.
Well, what I would tell you is every search has its challenges. Some of the similarities, large search area, very difficult to know exactly where he was. And I would tell you that almost 9 years ago to the day, some of you all were standing with me in that area up there. And some of these same questions were being posed. What makes us think we can catch him? He's a trained survivalist. And I would add that he had already shot 2 troopers at that point. And so it added another dimension to the whole thing. Some of those same challenges, some of those lessons learned from Freen have made us better as an agency. And we've taken those lessons and we adapt those here. There have been a number of searches between Freen and now. And again, we learn something from each one of those. We'll learn things from this search. In the end, collectively with our partners, we will be successful and we will capture him.
Colonel Williams, I know that you have been continuing to say that you believe he's in Pennsylvania. Do you have any reason to believe that he's still in Chester County?
Again, without information to the contrary, yes, I believe he's in Chester County. But with that said, we always consider other options. You know, the marshal just said that we've had plans all along, and he's exactly right. We collectively have been discussing right from the very beginning. What if, what if, what if? It's, you know, when we can bring this group of experts that we've assembled here together, it makes for an amazing team. There are a lot of good ideas, a lot of planning for contingencies, and a lot of great resources that are put to work out there in the field every day. We're trying to use the talents of all of those people and make this a successful operation.
I've seen a lot of reports of citizens arming themselves, sort of driving around the perimeter, expressing interest in helping. Have you received any complaints or even made any arrests of people inappropriately walking through the perimeter or otherwise behaving inappropriately?
We have not made any arrests. We have received calls from others about some of those citizens. We've investigated again. We have not made any arrests. And I would ask again that people consider not doing that. They're interfering in our investigation, potentially drawing resources away from the task at hand. We don't want an unfortunate incident to cause anyone to get hurt.
Do you tell your folks that they should now assume that because of his contact in different places that he's armed, that he's obviously dangerous from his history, but now he's likely to have gotten a weapon somewhere?
We obviously have always treated him as being dangerous, and we have always treated him as potentially being armed. He's been carrying a pack. There's no way to know exactly what's in that pack or what he obtained early on in this investigation and search. And so we've always treated him as though he may be armed, and certainly with his history of being as dangerous as he is, having been charged with one homicide and now charged and convicted with a second, I think it's fair to say that he needs to be treated in that manner.
Yes, interaction with Ring.
I'm sorry?
Do you plan to release the Ring camera interaction anytime soon for us to review?
I've not made a decision on that. I will tell you that it's in Portuguese, so it's not something that's easily reviewed anyway. It needs to be completely translated. We have done that for investigative purposes, but again, as I said yesterday, for me, the focus was on getting these photographs out. They really are the thing that provides value. And you know, before we release full videos along with audio, we want to make sure that there's no impact on the investigation.
Yesterday, you talked about a full sweep happening and doubling manpower and things of that nature. What did that full sweep involve? You also talked about training 600 people. I know you said earlier you got 300 people. What happened with those numbers there?
Well, you're misunderstanding. So what I was talking about was an operation that had been planned over the weekend to begin this morning and was to sweep the entire secured perimeter of Longwood Gardens and the surrounding property within that perimeter. And so we had planned a very large operation in order to try and make sure we thoroughly searched those grounds. That was what I was talking about with those very large numbers. You know, the marshal mentioned, and I've alluded to them before, about the challenges in there. It is a unique place to search and really takes a lot of resources. You know, when some of those sightings occurred in there, we had skilled tactical teams in there from multiple agencies. And even then, it was problematic to try and capture him or to find him again once a brief sighting occurred. The cover is that dense, and just a multitude of places to hide.
Do people living in that area still need to be on guard? In Kennett Square, do they still need to be checking their surveillance and locking their doors? Or are you afraid he's going to go back to Longwood Gardens?
I'm not afraid. What I am suggesting is that people should be vigilant. And I can't say that only people within some 1 square mile area someplace should be the only ones to be vigilant. As we saw, someone near the perimeter had a problem and left their vehicle unsecured with keys in it. That posed a problem. And so what I'm asking is that anyone, certainly in a very, it's a good practice anytime. They shouldn't be leaving their keys in the car. I'm just asking people to double down and be especially vigilant and make sure that they aren't doing things like that, particularly now when we're involved in this manhunt.
So you have no containment area. You specifically don't have a containment area like you did previously near Longwood.
Yes.
Can you specifically, just more specifics on that, and talk about your new tactics and what new tactics?
So when I said there's no specific containment area, you saw at Longwood and in some other areas around here, a very specific border that was formed by law enforcement so that we could search within that border. What I'm saying is that I have not formed a similar border, a physical presence to contain an area. We are, however, still conducting searches without identifying and securing a very specific area. We're conducting searches of some large areas of ground using some of those same tactical teams and other resources.
On the sister, which agency initially picked her up? Where was she initially picked up? And just to clarify, you said that released. You're concerned that she may help him again. Did she attempt to help him prior to being picked up?
I'm not going to discuss what she did with regard to helping him or not. What I would tell you is that she is in the custody of federal authorities, ICE, and we have no involvement in that, and so I don't have a lot of other information.
But you guys did not pick her up initially in the cash out box.
I don't know specifically how that played out. I just know that there was a discussion and an agreement here that that proceeding could take place. I don't know who worked with ICE to get that done. Well, again, I'm not going to talk specific tactics. We will use all available tools, and we are seeking the cooperation of any and everyone in order to bring this to a safe, successful resolution.
In terms of the doorbell message you just said, what was he asking for specifically in regards to support?
What I'm going to say is, generally speaking, he was focused in that message about trying to meet with these individuals. As I said, they were not home. And so he was trying to arrange a meeting and to make sure that that would occur without anyone else present. There were some other discussions that I'm not going to go into, but that was really the biggest focus. Was he was trying to make. There was not a specific location identified. There were a couple of places talked about, but ultimately there was no agreement to meet.
Sir, in terms of canine support, we've seen some wonderful German Shepherd officers. Have you brought in bloodhounds?
We have. We have utilized a variety of canine types. And again, I rely on the expertise of our various canine officers to tell me what it is they need and what other resources they need. And we've acted on that as needed.
Do you have any idea why he was heading from Phoenixville area to East Mansfield Township and what his next move could be?
We have some theories about why that occurred, but again, until he's captured and interviewed, we won't know that for sure.
Senator, what was the tone of that message? Did it seem urgent? Did he seem confident? Did he seem arrogant? That one photo that everyone looks at seems like there's a smirk on his face. Can you give us a sense of what that message sounded like?
I would characterize it as urgent but friendly. It was someone he clearly had not spoken to in some period of time, and so there was a reacquaintance and an effort to get assistance.
Did the sister work as a housekeeper in this area or any of the areas that you're searching?
I don't know.
So there's been a little confusion on the doorbell camera. So he arrives, he speaks into it.
Yes.
Those people whose home that is, do they have a conversation with him? Is it just he leaves a message in the Ring camera?
They have a conversation with him.
They spoke back to him?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what they said to him?
Well, again, I characterize it generally as a reacquaintance and a discussion about trying to meet and to get some assistance.
And then they didn't tell you about it until several hours after that?
it was reported to the local police, and then the local police investigated. And ultimately, what I'm saying is I was not a part of that, but there was a couple of hour period of time there before we became aware of it.
I talked to the people in that house. I talked to a family member of the people in that house. They say that they reported their conversation to police immediately. Is that true? Is that, and what explains that delay? Is that the local
I have no reason to doubt their account. I'm simply reporting to you the pieces that I have control or have knowledge of, and that is that we did not receive that information until about 12:30 that night. What steps the police department took to investigate that, whether there was, and I'm only speculating now, whether there was an issue or a concern because it was not in English, it was in Portuguese. I have not personally spoken to the officers. I know our investigators have. What I can tell you is that period of time lapsed before we became involved and became aware.
It's clear that he reached out to a former coworker. Have you made a list of other people he's worked with or had relationships with in order to contact them since the system's not cooperating?
Certainly, any possible associates, family members, all of that are part of our ongoing investigation. The marshal alluded to the fact that there is a very thorough investigation. Much of that, if not all, was known even while we were working on the containment and capture model, again, as a contingency, should it be necessary.
Sir, any chance today that you'll be able to share, do you work in the mushroom houses here in Chester County or at a Equestrian farm? You seem somewhat familiar with the farms throughout the county here a bit. Any insight you can share in terms of where he was working in Chester County?
I've read pretty significant history on him, but I'm not prepared today to stand here and talk to you about all that work history. He's been here for some time. He does have some varied experience, but again, I'm not prepared to.
You're very calm when you talk about the delay between when your investigators learned about it. You talk about cooperation and the need for cooperation. It's got to be frustrating to hear that he was reported almost immediately, but then wasn't.
Well, as I've indicated, I don't know the circumstances of why that wasn't reported. Our investigators have looked into it. There was certainly, we're not looking at did somebody engage in misconduct or anything like that. And so those are the circumstances we're faced with. And so the best I can do is what I've done all along, and that is to ask whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the public, or any other agency that might come in contact with anyone that would and it would possess some information. Please get that information to us very quickly. That's the best we can do. We need people to cooperate, and that's what we're asking for.
Can you do a quick recap of the timeline of the escape? They realized 2 hours later, the stolen van, the sighting on the range. Can you do a quick timeline?
Well, I don't have a timeline as far as he escaped. What we know is that that at some point that evening, that van was parked late afternoon, 4:30, 4:45. Was the last time that the owner saw that vehicle. What I can tell you is that we know that at some point that night, we now know, and again, without the times here in front of me, at 9 something and around 10 o'clock or so, 2 different contacts occurred in East Pikeland and in Phoenixville. Those contacts were ultimately reported to law enforcement. We were made aware of those at around 12:30 that night into the next morning. We still did not know about the stolen van at that point. Based on all of the information we gathered from those 2 contacts, we started looking for the potential for a stolen vehicle using a number of pieces of information. Our investigators were able to conclude what type of a vehicle it might be, and we sought out owners of those vehicles kind of in close proximity to where we were. And with that, we identified the owner of the vehicle, and they reported it stolen at that time. And so that all played out until 5 o'clock in the morning, roughly. And again, I know we've talked about specific times. I'm just speaking from memory in the ballpark.
Just believe that while he had the stolen van, he made the contact with the ring camera and another contact.
Yes.
Has the government of Brazil sent anyone here to work with law enforcement on the ground in Chester County, or has the government appointed a point person from law enforcement in Brazil to answer your questions on call 24/7?
You know, we've no, the short answer is there is not a contact from the government of Brazil here. We do have, as a result of the prosecution that was done, the district attorney's office possessed really, I think, the information we needed in terms of his background and experiences, and we've been able to utilize that information.
You mentioned the bloodhounds, the German shepherds. We've seen the helicopters. What other tools are being utilized right now today out there?
Well, there's a whole array of technology that's being utilized. Again, I'm not going to go into the specifics of that. That puts us at a disadvantage when we explain everything we're doing, what the capabilities of that are. And so what I would tell you is that any available, reasonable resource is being brought to bear from not only the state police, but from the marshals, from the FBI, from the county, from any agency that possesses it. The expertise, the technology, the investigative experiences are all being brought to bear on this.
Going back to where you started, have there been other weaknesses or potential co-conspirators within the Chester County prison that would have been able to escape in the first place? Now this investigation is going on.
That will, when we finally conclude this investigation, we'll be able to speak more to any co-conspirators or anything. Right now, I'm not prepared to discuss that. We've made no arrests, filed no charges in that, and so it would be premature of us to address anything like that now.
Earlier break-ins that
Social media has been really keyed up. I'm sure you've seen the comments yourself, but there's hundreds of law enforcement personnel out there. There's dogs, there's drones, etc. And so people are asking, why draw the line at 200 searches or 300 searches? Why not just flood the zone and appeal to as many out-of-state resources as possible and get more people on the ground? What's stopping you from doing that?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, no, I don't look at social media comments ever. Secondly, in terms of the number of people, would it satisfy them if I put 1,000? Would it satisfy them if I put 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000? I suspect that those who criticize without the experience and the knowledge of the specifics in the investigation would not be satisfied regardless of what we did. What I can assure the citizens, the residents of these communities are that we are doing everything possible, everything reasonable, and utilizing all available resources. If we needed 1,000 people, we would do it. Somebody mentioned freeing earlier. There were days there I had 1,000 law enforcement officers or more on any given operating period up there. If we needed that, we would. I don't have the type of information that I would need to make the best use of all of those people. And to flood an area with unnecessary resources would interfere with people going about trying to find that balance of being as
the investigation for those earlier home break-ins within the Longwood Garden property. Have you been able to confirm whether or not you actually entered anyone's home or broke into anyone's property there?
I don't have any conclusive evidence to suggest that that he was responsible for any one of those burglaries. That's not to say that he couldn't have been. I'm saying I don't have a fingerprint. I don't have DNA to say that he was the person who did the certain break-in.
Is the sister's apprehension in any way possibly warning to others who may know him, may have information that could help you?
I'll let that to others to look at that and draw their own conclusion. What I would say is if someone is thinking about offering assistance and acts on that, we will take whatever actions are appropriate based on what they've done.
There's some concern in the local sticking around because he wants to connect with people within the community. Talk about that. Clearly, they're expressing.
We have no information to suggest that at all. I will tell you that without going into a lot of theory of this investigation, I believe that his actions show he's desperate. I believe that there was an opportunity to escape. I don't believe there was a lot of planning that went into that, and now he finds himself on the run. I think he is desperate. The fact that he has reached out to people with a very distant past connection tells me he doesn't have a great network of support. So I think he's desperate, and I've characterized him as that all along. And I think the longer we push him, we will ultimately capture him. He doesn't have what he needs to last long term.
So the key is determining perhaps where he fled when he left that white van in northern Chester County. Do you know what direction he went, specifically the township that you're searching? And
You know, I'm not. There again, I'm not going to talk specifically about pieces of information that we may have gleaned. What I would say is that what I've already said, and that is that we will continue to search in that area. The fact is, let's suppose for a moment I was to tell you he fled to the east.
Guys, what happened to the live stream? Did someone just cut it off? Like thinking this guy has talked too long. This guy is embarrassing us now. Oh, dear me. Dear me. Well, I was watching your comments, and I think if I had the ability to be able to love all of them, I think I would have done. YouTube doesn't allow me to love comments when they're in a live chat. But, I mean, look, seriously. I mean, where do I even start? So we're 12 days in, and he doesn't think that the situation is serious enough to bring in more resources. Yeah, Jenny, it just cut off. He was literally in mid-sentence and it just cut off. Like the live stream has ended. They just ended the live. Whoever was in control of, you know, behind the scenes on the Facebook there, they just cut him off. That wasn't a technical hitch. Like, I'm always leery of streaming anything off Facebook Live because it always does that spinning wheel of death and it takes a while and it buffers and this, that, and the third. The audio was quite good, actually, for a Facebook Live. But, yeah, it's always been a problematic streaming anything from Facebook. But that was not a technical issue. That was them cutting off that guy mid-sentence. So whoever made that decision, I think made a good decision because it wasn't getting any better. He was digging himself deeper and deeper into a hole, in my opinion. But given that he doesn't bother reading social media, and why should he? He's a busy man. Well, he's never going to listen to me ranting on, is he? And he's never going to see anybody's comments, is he? But when he said that the situation doesn't warrant bringing in more resources, in what world is a man on the loose that he himself says is desperate? What do people do when they're desperate? They do desperate things. So what's to stop him from taking a hostage? Right? If he can't get a vehicle like he did, the other day when somebody just left a vehicle open with keys in it, Well, who's to say he's not going to take a hostage? He's committed 2 murders that we know of. And he's not that desperate. Like, characterizing him turning up at someone's door that he hasn't spoken to for a while as being, well, you know, he's desperate, just reaching out to anybody he can. Well, that's nonsense, because he was stood there smiling, eating something from a box. I'm not sure what was in that box, but it was something. It was either cereal, crackers. I'm not really sure what it was. But he's there holding this box of stuff. So where's he got that from? I mean, it's ridiculous. And then that guy from the US Marshals, what was he talking about? Because he said that he's now in an urban area. So law enforcement now has the advantage because it's an urban area. Hold on a minute. Let me just share something with you. Would you consider this Nantmeal village as an urban area? Does that look urban to you? I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of urban. But does that look urban to you? I mean, there's a church, all right, and there's like houses dotted about, like every so often, lots of fields, lots of woods. That doesn't seem urban to me. And actually, the place that he was in when he stole the van, which is a bit further down here, down here somewhere, that was more populated. Once he got up to here, he's gone into the woods. It's rural. Thank you. A house he went to had groceries delivered and no one home. They were sitting on the porch. There you go then. He's got a nice rucksack full of groceries. But the burglaries that people have attributed to him, this cop's saying that they weren't necessarily him, which could be true, I guess. But then where has he got the hoodie from? Now, I've heard that he got the hoodie out the van, that somebody left the hoodie in the van, so he got it from there. But at this moment in time, nothing would convince me that he's not had some kind of help. Box was not being held. Box was there already. No, he had a box in his hand, like a blue box in his hand. He was definitely holding a box. I mean, if we saw the video, I even if it's in Portuguese, we could have a go at translating it, couldn't we? The Clorox box was already there on the bench. So it was Clorox, was it? It wasn't like chips or crackers or something. So like Clorox wipes. Box of Clorox bleach. Was it? Okay. Well, all right. Taking Clorox wipes is a good thing. Like it can wash. So if he's stolen groceries and he's taking some Clorox wipes, it's not going to last forever, is it? But the other thing that really got me annoyed was when he was talking about the previous perimeter, which was breached, And he said, well, we had a strong perimeter, as strong as it could be. And then he said, yeah, but it had weaknesses. All perimeters have weaknesses because they don't have a ceiling. And then he went on to talk about these tunnels. So, okay, this tunnel network. Now, we talked about the tunnels yesterday briefly on my live stream. And there's lots of tunnels in this area, right? There's tunnels that like drainage tunnels. There's some really old tunnels that were, I don't know, used in railways, mines and things like that. Most of them have been kind of closed or capped, but there's still plenty of tunnels around here if you know where they are. But they're mainly where rivers, like the tunnels that are still in existence that you can access, they take like rivers and creeks under roads. And you have to know where they are. And I would imagine that given that this is a rural area, that these are similar kinds of tunnels, like the drainage tunnels or tunnels that take waterways underground, right? And they're not like extensive labyrinths. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're in the area, correct me if I'm wrong. That these are drainage tunnels. But if they're aware of these tunnels, and they must have been aware of them to realise that he's escaped from one, either they didn't do their homework and think about the possibility that he could be in a tunnel and that he could escape in a tunnel, and they just didn't do the homework. They didn't have that local knowledge. Or they were aware of the tunnels, but didn't think to man those tunnels. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, mining tunnels can go miles without getting noticed, or underground railways. Yeah, I mean, the ones like that round here have all been capped like years and years and years ago. But are those the kind of tunnels that we're talking about here? Or are we talking about drainage tunnels, which are relatively short? I mean, what kind of tunnel are we talking about? Because if they were aware, if these were drainage tunnels, right, and they were aware that they were there, aren't tunnels the easiest places to capture someone in? Correct me if I'm wrong. Because you put one person at one end and one person at another end. And then what do? You start walking towards each other. And he's going to be in the middle somewhere. And he's got nowhere to go. So when he's on about perimeters, you know, always have weaknesses because they don't have a ceiling. Well, what's he saying? That he's flown away. You know, he's been able to go up to the top of the trees and swing from the tops of the trees. Because if he's in a tunnel, tunnels have ceilings and tunnels have sides. And tunnels only have a one way in and one way out, generally speaking. I mean, all right, some of them have ladders and they go up places. But if they'd have done their homework, look, if this guy knew about the tunnels, because presumably this guy, like, he has not made an extensive map, like above ground and below ground of this area. I mean, how well does he know this area? Does he know this area, including the tunnel systems, better than all of the law enforcement and searchers that they've got out there, or they had out there the other day when he escaped? So what are we talking about here? You heard that the dairy has tunnels on their land. Yeah, well, the farms near me have tunnels on their land, but the drainage tunnels, or they take a creek or a river under an area, like under a field. Yeah, I can show you a tunnel tomorrow. I can show you a tunnel. But they're only small tunnels. Like we used to play in, like the bigger tunnels over the other side of the village. They're really cool to play in when you're a kid. Don't tell my mother where I was in the tunnels. Don't tell my mother I went in the tunnels.
There's a big tunnel in the mill.
Yeah, there is.
A massive one.
There is. Yeah, that's a cool tunnel and all. Yeah, we used to go there. Kyle's just come out of his room again to tell me that there's a big tunnel near the mill. There is. That's one of the tunnels we used to play in as a kid. He went, oh, rather you than me. Rather you than me. Yeah, he's only 5 foot tall. Yeah. I mean, the tunnels around the mill where he's just told you where they are near the mill. They're quite big. Like I'm 5 foot. Well, I was 5'7". I'm only 5'5" now because of my back. But I was 5'7" and I could stand up easily. And they have like little rims down each side, and we used to balance across them, and we used to count how many rats we saw. That's what we went in. That's what we went in for, really, to go and see the rats. We used to like rats, me and my friend. Same up north, lots of tunnels. Yeah, it's where there's a lot of farmland or where there's been mining activity and things like that in the past. You're going to have tunnels. But in my experience, these tunnels are not like labyrinths of like a tunnel off a tunnel off a tunnel, you know, like where you need a map to be able to navigate them. They're like a tunnel that starts in one place and ends in another place. And they might be like a couple of 100 feet or a few 100 feet. And that's it. So either, as I said, either this guy knows this area better than law enforcement, or he's found those tunnels accidentally and law enforcement did not do their homework. Law enforcement did not realise that they have tunnels on their land until it was too late. And then some bright spark thought, hold on a minute, he's probably escaped through one of the tunnels. And then, you know, someone says, what do you mean the tunnels? What do you mean the tunnels? Oh, yeah, there's tunnels over there. Well, why didn't you tell us about the tunnels? Come on now. You can't say a perimeter has weaknesses because they've got no ceiling and then let him escape through a place that's the most confined space that you could ever wish to meet. Come on. You can't do that. You can't say that. It's stupid. Chat loves Kyle. They do. They do. And then he pops out of his room every now and again to give us a pearl of wisdom. Most of the searches are from the outside of the area. And then the last thing that I want to bring up before I stop ranting is when he said that there's been no sightings of him since the Ring doorbell sighting. Well, does he not realise that people listen to the police scanners? I mean, given that he doesn't ever go on social media or he's not interested in what social media has to say, then he won't know that people don't listen to the police scanners, because lots of people, including me, were listening to the police scanner last night and they were actually talking about him. And this was the location that they were talking about. This is where I got this location from. Right, Win Hollow Road. They were setting up. It was on the scanner. I didn't record it. I wish I had. I could probably go back and look in the archives, but I can't be bothered. But they were on about setting a perimeter on Win Hollow Road and then this road here, Fairview Road. This is where they knew he was last night. It was on the scanner. So they either have to take the scanner down. They either have to take the scanner down or stop thinking that the public is stupid. They knew where he was yesterday. They knew where he was yesterday. Or at least they believed. Let's be a little bit more accurate. They believe he was there at Win Hollow Road yesterday. A police scanner. Yeah, it's on Broadcastify. Hold on, I'll get it up. Hold on. Pennsylvania, Chester County. There we go. Okay, live feeds. Chester County Law Enforcement Dispatch. Okay, so this is the police scanner. Play live.
And hold the 911 for the 32 medical. I'll be en route to back up the traffic stop.
Listening to Chester County Police Dispatch. I had it on my live briefly, but most of the action had finished by the time I even went live yesterday. I was listening to live streams of people with the scanner on in the background. The reason why we know he was at Win Hollow Road is because they were talking about it on this very scanner. So yeah, it's just Broadcastify. Broadcastify.com. Put it in the chat. And then you find the state that you want. And then you find the county that you want. And and then there's a bunch of different scanners. Hold on, where is it? So this one is Chester County Law Enforcement Dispatch. Like, you can listen to the fire service, you can listen to EMS. So currently there's 899 listeners. Now it's silent at the moment because there's nobody talking. But last night the scanner crashed. Now, whether they'd purposefully, like, jam the signal for a while, or whether it was just overloaded because there was too many people listening, I don't know. You never sleep if you had a scanner. Yeah, you can sit and listen to these scanners all day. And they also have an archive as well. So I'm guessing that some channels have got all the archive data as well from days gone by. Does it give UK information? No. No, this is just United States. So I'll show you. So this is Pennsylvania. So these are all the different counties. But no, it's just United States. So we've got Amtrak and New Jersey Transit Rail around Philadelphia, Chester and Montgomery counties fire EMS. So we're currently listening to Law Enforcement Dispatch, this one. We've been listening to it for 3 minutes, but there's been nothing come over the. You can turn it down if you want, and it has to keep it like reconnects every few seconds. So we've now got 893 people listening in. So no, it's only United States. It's not. Now, whether there are other apps, that do other countries, I don't know. Scanners are almost a thing of the past, like cassettes. Well, there's still plenty of US counties that have scanners that you can listen in on. There's been a new possible sighting at Chester Springs. Okay. So that is at JLR that said that. There could well be, but as this idiot from the press conference seems to think there's been no sightings whatsoever since the Ring doorbell, like I said, doesn't realise that there's people out there on the ground or getting information, or there's people out there who are listening to scanners who are getting information. So I don't know. But the thing is with the scanners, if they want to keep something quiet, then they just talk by phone. So if they're out searching, they might just keep things off the scanner. But yeah, social media went berserk last night when the scanner went down.
Have views when you're available.
Yeah, we're all still here, Mel. We're all still here.
We're okay.
So the scanner's still on in the background. If there's any activity, then you'll hear it. So what's this? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that was something else that I meant to talk about. This Ring doorbell calling, right? So he made it sound like it took them, the people who had the Ring doorbell, that it took them 2 hours to call the cops. Right? That was my assumption in the first place, that they delayed calling the cops. However, it's since come to light that they called the cops immediately. That they called law enforcement immediately. But it was the local PD that sat on the information. And they sat on the information because they didn't take it seriously. And then I heard, now don't quote me, this is just, what you hear, that they had to put the images through facial recognition before they would take it seriously. So this sheriff dude, whoever he is, saying that it was 2 hours later, it's now my understanding, and you heard the reporters trying to clarify because they'll have seen all the same information that I have, that it's not the people who were talking to him on the Ring doorbell, because they were having a conversation with him. It's not them that delayed for 2 hours. It was a local PD. You heard the reporters trying to get it clarified. Like, where was the delay? And then he started going, oh, well, it just didn't reach me. It didn't reach my office until like midnight. Facial recognition is not reliable. It's pretty reliable these days, honestly. It depends on the quality of the software. But if they've got up-to-date facial recognition software, it's pretty reliable. If you have facial recognition on your phone, well, certain phone companies, I don't think Apple do, but they've been testing facial recognition for years on unwitting customers who have been opening their phone with facial recognition. The US is far behind. Facial recognition stuff in the UK is pretty good now. But I obviously can't vouch for facial recognition software that they might have in Chester County. But that was what I heard. And that's clearly what the reporters were trying to establish, where the delay was. So once it was questioned, he started to then deny, going, oh, well, it was just my office that didn't get it. He thought they weren't home and called when they got home and viewed the footage. That's what he said. That's what he said, isn't it? But then he contradicted himself because they had a conversation with him while he was at the door. Because if they had a conversation with him while he was at the door, well, he's either going to be still at the door when they got home, when they supposedly reviewed the footage, or they got an alert on their phone, which is what normally happens. They get an alert on the phone and they're able to talk to the person at the door in live time. So he gave himself away when he said that they had a conversation with him. So they got the alert on their phone while they were out, had a conversation with him. And then, I'll reiterate what I just said, they called the local PD immediately. And it was the local PD that delayed passing the message on. So this is Brian Laundry all over again. That the local PD and this person don't talk to each other and everybody loses him. And I saw people in the chat while the press conference was going on saying, how do we know he's still alive? Well, exactly. How do we know he's still alive? Now, the thing with Brian Laundry is there was no sightings at all whatsoever, apart from people seeing him in his mother's flower bed or seeing him, like, I don't know, a million miles away, you know, caught sight of him on the moon, on, you know, things like that. But these are genuine sightings that the cops are talking about on the scanner. But this guy doesn't understand that people can access the police scanners. There's no noise coming out from this scanner at all. It's now been running for 11 minutes. There's still 880 people listening. Listening in. So yeah, it reminded me this this tweet here. Oh dear. Dear me. What's this? Dispatch audio from initial report. Police actually responding. That's from Ekid Mel. So we've got some army looking type people out there. But oh yeah, he doesn't need any more people. Doesn't need any more people. Yeah, we heard that. Yeah, exactly. Flower Gangstar. Does the police chief realize that people aren't as dumb as he thinks? There's recording of dispatchers relaying the message. Exactly. There's people talking on the scanners. So there will be, if I looked in the archives, there would be, as this person says, recordings of dispatchers relaying the information to the tip centre. An officer acting dismissive, asking, do they know him? I'm telling you, they think we're stupid. You know it's bad when the memes come out. You know it's bad when the memes come out. Wonder who saw him running into the woods. Well, probably somebody who wasn't believed. Because wasn't he running through he's running through a field. And you can even see which field it was. So this field. So Win Hollow Road. So this is the woods. This is the field. I mean, there's fields all over, but this is a big field. That's a field that's a crop field. Tell by the lines on it. There's a crop field there. So he was running through a cornfield. Running through a cornfield at the back of a property. Yeah. So this is the property. It's 216 was mentioned, and then there was a 26 something that was mentioned. So it would have been this field, like the back of Win Hollow Road, I imagine. Or it could have been one of these fields at the back of this property, because they were also looking at this road as well. I mean, Win Hollow Road leads on to Fairview Road. This is where the police were last night. Just as the sun was going down. Because I logged off, like the sun was just starting to go down in Pennsylvania. So I kind of knew that nothing really was going to happen at that point. So yeah. We all knew exactly where he was last night, or at least where the cops were talking about where he was last night. So how come now they've got the command center at this church here? This church, Nantmeal United Methodist Church. So if they still believe he's in the county and specifically is still in this area, well, why haven't they caught him yet? Because I'm quite sure that if he asked for more resources, there would be many, many search organisations. There would be police departments from neighbouring counties, neighbouring states, would come in and help. All hands on deck. And then he's got the audacity to say that he doesn't want the public searching and that action would be taken and that they would be interfering with the investigation if people take the law into your own hands. Now, what if you were a property owner in this area? Right? You own one of these farms, or you own one of these properties, or, you know, the issue is a lot of this is private land. It's farmland, or it's it's wooded land that belongs to somebody. So imagine that was your property. Imagine that was your property and you were told, don't go out and search because you're interfering with the investigation. Would you listen? I certainly wouldn't listen. I can tell you for now, if this happened here, if this happened in this village, I can tell you for damn sure that we'd all be out. We'd be out with pitchforks. We'd be out with pitchforks, dogs, you name it, we'd be out there with it. The cops would like turn around and walk off. They'd be like, oh, do it yourself. Do it yourself. But if you were a property owner in this area, would you listen to that guy? Would you listen to the guy who had his own live stream turned off because he was digging a bigger hole? Or would you want to go out and defend your own property and your own community? Exactly, Mel. My property, my right. Yeah. And if it's your local community, you want to go out and defend it. It wouldn't matter to me if this guy's a murderer. He's a little pint size. You Glockwood, yeah. He said he didn't want any members of the public going out because they would be interfering with the investigation. So all the property, look, it's a rural area. The only people who are out there are people who own the properties out there. So yes, that's exactly what he's saying. That if he doesn't want the public going out searching for him themselves, he's basically telling the public in that area to lock themselves in the houses, don't leave the keys in their vehicles, lock the doors, and stay well away, and don't interfere. That's exactly what he said. Exactly what he said. So no would be my answer. My answer will be, I'm going to go out on my property and I'm going to get permission from my neighbours to go out on my neighbour's property, and I'm going to go and look for this guy myself because you're not doing a good enough job. Look, guys, you know me, I back the blue, right? Normally, I'm on the side of the cops, normally. But if they're doing a bad job, I am never going to defend anybody who's doing a bad job in a situation where you have a double murderer on the loose that has slipped through the net once. Well, he slipped through the net twice because he shimmied backwards up a prison wall to get out. So that's his number one. And then number two, he busted through the perimeter by allegedly going through a tunnel that they didn't seem to know about. So what's to now think that he's going to take one of these locals hostage to take their vehicle off them? Who's to say that he doesn't have a firearm and he's going to shoot someone to take their vehicle off them? Who's to say that's not going to happen next? That would be in my mind if I lived in Nampmeal Village or one of these surrounding farms. I would prefer to take the law into my own hands, defend my own local community before a member of my local community got hurt or killed. That would just be my stance on this. Not that I'm advocating violence ever, never advocate violence, but I'm just saying if it was me, he has kitchen knives. Yeah, well, yeah. Don't bring a knife out to a gunfight. I mean, you know, I've got a kitchen knife as well. I've got a sword. Hey, my knife's bigger than your knife because I've got a sword. I'd be out with my sword, swinging my sword. I've got a katana, I've got a bokken, I've got nunchucks, I've got sai. What else have I got? I've got a few things. I'm not very good with nunchucks, so I hit myself in the head with them. They hurt. They hurt when you hit yourself in the head with them. Take it from one who knows. Pepper spray. The longest blade wins. It does. It does. And I have Tilly. Exactly, Holly. And I have Tilly. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. I'll be back later if there's any significant developments, like it looks like they are, you know, about to catch him, then I'll come back later. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Nothing's going on this scanner. Still connected. I've been connected for 22 minutes. And there's still 863 people listening. Maybe there is stuff on the scanner. I've just got my, hold on. If I know why I've not, have you been listening? Has the scanner actually been making noises while I've been talking? Because I've just thought I've got my microphone plugged in So I'm not going to be able to hear it. Because my earbuds are dead. No noise. Okay, all right. So it's not just me. That's why I couldn't hear the press conference initially. I had to unplug my mic because my earbuds were dead. So, but yeah, all right. It's all quiet. All quiet on the Western Front at the moment. So I shall bid you farewell. I will be back later if there is any significant developments. Thank you, Jane, for the late £3 there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks as always to the mods. And yeah, maybe back later. If there's nothing going on, I won't be back later. I will be back tomorrow, though. I'm going to be following this case very closely so that I can rant again. I do like to have a good rant. You tuned into JSB last night regarding this. Oh, it's Jodie Sue talking about it as well. It's Jodie Sue talking about it. Well, at least it'll give us something else to talk about other than tragedy pimps. Or is that? I'll go and have a listen. I'll have to go and have a listen now. No perimeter anymore. I know. Just let him run about. You know, let him run about wherever he wants now. All right, guys. I shall see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye, folks.